marketers. Deborah Eckerlin here.
And I'm Keith Smith, and we host the MPN Meta Marketing Show, which is not just another marketing podcast, but the marketing podcast about all the other marketing podcasts.
Podcasts are booming, right? We love them, and people actually listen. They don't scroll, they don't swipe. Well, except maybe during the ad breaks.
But here's the secret. With the Marketing Podcast Network, your ads don't make people hit skip. We put your brand on shows that people actually want to hear.
That's right. We match your message with podcasts that make marketing nerds like us perk up and take notes. Or at least nod knowingly, pretending they understand.
And don't worry, because we'll deliver your ad naturally. People might even think that we love your brand personally, which of course we totally do, unless it's a veggie smoothie, then maybe not.
If you want your brand heard without making listeners roll their eyes,
head to marketingpodcasts.net and catch marketing fans at work, rest, and play. Seriously, your audience is already listening. Make sure they hear your brand and not our awkward jokes.
Join the conversation, because good ads shouldn't just be tolerated, they should be enjoyed.
Yes!
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience and their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's LIBSYN, ads.com today.
Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, the podcast where art, energy, and inspiration come alive. Hosted by award-winning intuitive painter Heather Eck, synesthetic artist, chakra expert, and spiritual guide, this show invites you to explore the transformative power of color, creativity, and spiritual healing. Heather's unique gift of seeing color through energy fuels her stunning spirit portraits and chakra-aligned artworks, designed to bring healing and alignment to your life. Whether you're curious about the magic of chakras, looking to unlock your creative potential, or eager to connect with your radiant spirit, you're in the right place. Your radiant spirit is calling. Let's dive in.
Well, welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I'm so excited to introduce you to my next guest today. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and I'm excited to get to chat with you and learn more about what you do. Corbin Chase is a leader in spiritual and holistic health, hosting the Spiritual Health Expert podcast and running Corbin Chase Health in Maine. She transitioned from a corporate career to healing, utilizing her skills as a psychic, hypnotherapist, herbalist, and Reiki Master. Her work focuses on uncovering root causes of imbalance to promote complete healing, and she engages with various community and health initiatives like the Duke Cancer Institute and the Conscious Community Collective. Corbin is dedicated to guiding others in their holistic health journeys. All of those things, I think, help support our radiant spirit. So I'm super excited to welcome you to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Heather. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I was so happy to meet you when we chatted the very first time. It just felt like this instant connection to you, and thought, okay, there's something here. What is this? Let's dig in and kind of figure it out.
Totally.
Yeah. So tell us Tell us who you are, what you do, and how you took this leap from corporate to your spiritual healing work.
Yeah, thank you. So, I grew up as kind of like a spiritual child. I didn't know it. I just thought, this is my life. I was always very empathic. So adults and children, I could feel what they were feeling. I had, I think, like I guess what you could consider like advanced wisdom about situations in life, like my parents' divorce or moving or whatever it might be. I would just kind of like understand why, when, and how it was all happening. Um, I always, was very close with nature and
Mhm.
really like nature walks. And that's the one thing that grounded me. So I went along through my life. I lost touch with that part of me a little bit as I went into my corporate career. And then slowly, as was married and started having children, my spiritual gifts started to really open up. It was like this package was delivered and something said yes. And I opened it and I was like, whoa. I am psychic. And I didn't even believe it at first. And so I started like weaving in these spiritual gifts and exploring them through the corporate space because that was like most of my life. Um, and I realized, I think actually I can do something bigger with this. And I'm not sure what that is, but I'm gonna lean into it and take the bold move to leave the corporate world and open a practice I was just doing Reiki and hypnotherapy at the time. But yeah, that was a big leap I took.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's so interesting when you were talking about your childhood. You and I could have been sisters in that experience because
Yeah.
that was me too. I was this really spiritual kid. Like my parents used to say that I was born at the wrong time. They saw me as like a flower child. They were like, "You're such a hippie, like you're so into like, and I would sort of dabble in these uh desire to understand the world in a bigger way. Like I'd always
Mhm.
want to read about the Bible. Even like 10 years old, I was like, I want to learn more about that. What's that about? Or like
Mhm.
unsolved mysteries and mysteries of the unexplained. I was really into astrology, like things that like little kids are
Yeah.
not typically into. But
Yeah.
the same sort of thing where I would kind of go into a room and just sort of know what was happening in that room or sort of I'm not an empath, but I'm strongly clairsentient. So sort of
Yeah.
feeling my way through the world and being very sensitive and trying to understand things from a bigger picture. So,
Yeah.
and that's tough when you're a little kid. Was that hard for you?
It was. Even still, I'm kind of working through how I felt misunderstood because I think what you and I feel like a good word for it that resonates with me is like this connectedness. I just felt connected to everyone and everything that was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was very apparent to me, that one thing affected the other, and then it was just like a chain reaction.
Yeah,
Um, And so it was tricky. I feel like in a lot of ways I was really sensitive and needed a little bit more TLC than I got. Um, but I understand now. I understand my parents and their souls and where they were at and all
hmm,
is well. But that healing the inner child work is it's a never-ending
it's
task.
important. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So you stepped into the corporate space. What did you do in corporate?
So I actually started in corporate America when I was 18 in engineering. My parents separated. I switched high schools to a homeschool, and the father of that homeschool saw kind of how ambitious I was. I had a side company teaching elderly people how to use social media, and I also was working for a startup that supported teen identity development, how to manage and express yourself and discover yourself. So I was trying to kind of like, I was always very like, I want to work, I want to work.
Huh?
Um, and he said, I can give you this special opportunity if you can learn to code, you can come work, but you've got to return the favor one day. And little 18 me, I was like, okay. So I started in high school. I would go to work 9 to 5, studied engineering, and I was in like the Kalo labs and was getting my like certifications in engineering, um, and was doing schoolwork at night. And at that time, I was living on my own, so really fully supporting myself. And I never stopped. I was there for 11 years, did that throughout the time I was in college. Um, and eventually, I left engineering and ended up in a more HR role, which I'm not,
Okay.
but I wanted to be closer to the people. And yeah, but it was, I kind of grew up there.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. So I ended up in HR too. So we kind of have like that
Yes.
in common as well. And so sorry, you can hear my dog is shaken. He's sitting right beside me.
Cute.
So human resources I think of as like a cheat for healers, right? Because we get to work
Mhm.
with people and we get to sort of help support them through anything that they're going through. But so tell me about what it was like when you started to develop your intuition. You discovered you're a psychic, you're still working in this corporate environment. How did that gifting sort of support your work, or how did you one, become aware of it, and then two, start to use it? And then at what point did you go, okay, this is no longer the space for me. I'm gonna move out and start something new.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's like the corporate culture and then spiritual healers, they clash. The energy is very different. One is very feminine, as where the other is very masculine. One is rigid and one is free flowing. So I started to like blossom my spirituality within like the little moments of having a one-on-one with somebody I was working with. I would really just get deep in the first like 4 to 5 minutes of like the intro of a call, and I really enjoyed that. And I think I was like, oh wow, like I think people, like me or like me when I do that. Because I had some self-confidence issues, and that was when I started to like realize how to connect with people in a deep way. And then that expanded into my work. I wanted to do work that helped a lot of people. So actually, during COVID, I helped to stand up the first global health and well-being pillar to support employees and all of their families. So we really got to make an impact. And after that is when I left, because I was like, all right, I'm definitely psychic. I had kind of sourced it around with some of my coworkers, and I was like, do you believe in that? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I am one. And they were so friendly and nice, but it just, and there were some people, that understood, but I really just felt like it was time to shift, and I had this trust. You just know.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very similar. It's so funny, I think, why our friend introduced us to one another, because our paths are so alike in how our gifts started to open up and where they opened up, and then how it sort of became more pervasive in our lives. I remember sitting in my office in human resources, people would come in and I'd have crystals all over my desk, and they would start to talk about it. They were kind of like the gateway to open up spiritual conversation. And I'd
Mhm.
find myself, working in this corporate environment. It was video games, so it was less corporate-y than a typical office would be. But people would come in and be like, hey, I had this dream last night. You want to help me interpret it? And I was like, I've never told you that I like to do that. Why are you telling me about your dreams? And yes, please sit down. Let's talk about it. So
Oh,
my office sort of became this space where people could come in and start to have those conversations about spirituality. And then I would start to let like in a little bit. I noticed that you're wearing a lot of yellow. And so do you know yellow is like a color of shifting identity? What's going on? Tell me about what's changing for you. And I would start to have these conversations with people. And then it was like somebody would come in and just say hi and take a crystal off my desk and walk away with it. And I was just kind of like, okay, this is who I am now.
oh, that's
So
amazing.
it's kind of funny how I think sometimes we're put in those places. Well, it might feel like we're sitting on the side of a mountain for a little while. Like we have a purpose in being there. And I think sometimes it's to help open people up to things that they may not have been open to before, to start to
Yeah.
introduce them to things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think people of like that collective consciousness, higher consciousness are needed in the corporate space, especially, in leadership of um humanizing this huge area of work for so many people is really important. I
Hmm.
like to think that, like in the South there are parts of menus where it says it's for misplaced Northerners. I feel like HR is like for misplaced spiritual people. That's where they kind of end up and then get funneled out.
I think you're right, because a lot of people that I encounter, um, I've been on a bunch of podcasts over the last couple of years, and a lot of the people that I've been interviewed by are HR people turned spiritual
Yeah.
leaders. It's so funny that you say, I think you're right. Because again, it feels like a cheat, right? Like you get to sort of practice a little bit of that higher consciousness with people, but sort of in a safe space where you
Mhm.
have your regular paycheck and your 401k before you decide to take that like cliff dive out of out of your day job into your spiritual business. So what was that like for you? Did you cliff dive? Did you sort of set out a map for how you wanted to transition from corporate to running your own business?
I started by well, how did it go? No, I started getting my certifications while I was still at Cisco Systems.
Okay.
And so then I started a side practice where I would see people for my business on weeknights or on weekends.
Mhm.
Just like here and there, I would rent out a space with other healers. Just kind of like just seeing who I was once I took the corporate hat off because I grew up, in corporate America, and every day I would put on this hat and I would show up, deliver, 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 like people please, kind of like to the max.
Mhm.
And so to be a healer, I had to take that off and discover. So those two things were happening at the same time. And the more that I got to know myself, like truly know myself, the more clients, that I attracted and the more I wanted to go into my business because I was like uncovering who I was. And I think those two paired together allowed for the universe to keep opening up these doorways. It was like, okay, your frequency has raised, here's another doorway, and I would just follow it. So yes, there were things that I did to make my path, continue forward, but I definitely felt a co-creation and a support with the powers that be.
I love that. I think you're right. Like the more you sort of settle into the truth of who you are, the more the universe sort of, I would say, like rewards that with with doors that open along the
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. So tell us what your day to day is like in your business and how you help people.
Yeah. So, well, my day starts off with my two kids and the six chicks we just got that are racing. So it's kind of nutty and it's not quite like my type of spirituality is very functional.
Mm,
It's not like I think the stereotypical type where people imagine like in movies of you wear a long dress and I'm not, walk outside in bare feet with your sage and like no, it's absolute chaos. Like someone wakes up screaming every morning. And so we move through the day and then I start seeing clients either virtually or in person. Or I also do hospital visits and home visits, however it looks, I want to meet people where they are. And I have a couple of one-on-ones. I do a lot of writing, a lot of content creation, and I really love what I do. It's like this energy I step into before I meet with someone
hmm
that my whole being just calms. And it's like
hmm
Corbin takes a back seat, like my personality in this life takes a back seat, and my gifts come forward. And I really enjoy being in that place. It's like when I step into that place, this whole other energy landscape is available. As where if Corbin is a little bit tapped out from the morning, my gifts can come in and I'm like, there's like a nice wide pasture here for me to explore and assist and guide people.
I love that. I can imagine that energy that you step into is also calming and supportive for the clients that you're working with too, because to me, you have this sort of confidence that radiates like happiness and peace. And so even sitting across from you now, I sort of feel like you enable me to take a deep breath and just sort of ease into how I'm feeling. So um, I feel like your clients probably pick up on that too when they're working with you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
glad I can, yeah. I think each person has their own energy signature. And when you're really like talking one-on-one with them, you enter each other's like energy field. And especially they're already coming to talk about something vulnerable, and I am
hmm
prepared to hold space for something vulnerable. So it's a really high frequency. It's very special. And I'm very calm and forward,
hmm
I'm not afraid to deliver whatever news, might come through.
Yeah.
And it's relaxing for both of us, I think,
Yeah.
because you're applying the bigger pictures for people, which calms like the inner Corbin, who's very empathic and is like, oh my goodness, you have cancer and you only have X amount of time left. That's a lot for them and for me because I feel that too,
Yeah.
but when my gifts can come in and apply these perspectives and like paint the whole picture,
hmm
everyone just kind of is like, okay, we're grounded, we're present, let's move forward. What's the way to move
hmm
forward?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's I think something that that people are trying to, especially today, I think, trying to reconnect with an aspect of themselves that they've either lost or that has sort of gotten shielded over for whatever reason. And I believe too, and I think a lot of healers believe, like when you fix the spirit, you fix the body. And so it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is really focused on both sort of understanding energetically, psychically, what's happening with that person's spirit, right? Like our spirits are here to have these wild adventures, and we sort of, the spirit sort of celebrates the things that we would say is bad, but the human starts to panic, and so you're sort of offering them space to reconcile this experience is impacting the physical health as well, right? Is that sort of what you're looking at?
Yeah, yeah. So I love what you said and how you said that. I agree. My spiritual gifts are unique, just like yours, where my gifts revolve, my psychic clarity revolves around holism. So when I look at someone, I see like the entirety of them. I see the emotional body, I see the physical body, I see the spirit, I see your energy body, I see your life end to end, where it started, where it's ending, what you came here to do, like the trajectory and the alignment. I see past lives. I look at the entire picture, and from there I'm like, okay, now I can see where the root cause is and where something is off. So like while you might be having, cystic acne, I can say, well, that's directly related to this relationship in your life at this
Wow.
point in time. And now let's find a pathway holistically, which is where all of my certifications come in, of
Hmm.
let's find something natural to like really heal what's actually going on here. But I agree. I think people often don't realize who's in charge. You can your soul can be diagnosed as, let's say only shining at, 60%. When
Hmm.
ideally we want the soul, the health of the soul to be at 100%.
Hmm.
So what's that blockage? Why is it there? And being in that place of self, of soul self, is how we want to interact with the world ideally, while we also have logic, ego, emotions, part of the human experience,
Hmm.
where we can build healthier and more like conscious relationships with those parts. So we know who's in the driver's seat. I think that's where people kind of get tripped up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Can you say more about that? Like, who's in the driver's seat? Are you talking about the spirit? Are you talking about God? Are you talking about what in what yeah, say more about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious
Okay.
about that.
So this is how I explain it in the book that I'm writing.
Oh.
So there's a little baby body that we pick, and we're up here in spirit world, and as soon as the baby is born, that's our time to enter. Like it's locked in, we're in. And so we are the soul, our spirit, let's say our spirit drops into the body. And so the spirit enters the body, and it's like, okay, what there's a physical thing that's connected to like my whole life. There's past trauma from previous generations that exists within me. There's this thing called logic that wants me to be, highly logical. There's an ego, like that's a big deal. I have these emotions, this whole other communication system within me. Like it's like you're stepping into your car and you're learning all of the buttons, but the driver is the spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
there are times when the ego comes in to protect, and it's like, nope, the ego's gonna wear, the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
And when the ego's driving for too long and we don't realize it, it can get us out of alignment, or over stress us out, or have us develop other parts like anxiety that are now
Uh-huh.
fun, that wasn't there to begin with.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, number one, amazing that you're writing a book. Are you in the early stages, or where are you in the process?
I'm in the middle. I have the title. It's all, in my head.
Uh-huh.
It's like these when my muse comes in, like this energy comes in, I can write like 4 pages at once, and then it's like a nice breather. And then when it comes in,
Little spurts.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, that makes so much sense to me. I love that analogy of sort of looking at all the different buttons that you can push as a spirit. So how do you help people sort of look at what is driving the car
Mhm.
and to sort of reverse course, if you will, and get the spirit back in charge? What Tell us about that.
So there are lots of ways to do this, and I think it's very individualized. One avenue that I think is very relatable, like an approach, is looking at lying and truth within yourself. So,
Mm.
and this includes like the little white lies. How often are you being authentic and how often are you trying to please? Because each and every time, like even if you meet someone in a coffee shop and they're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm great." Even though you're tired, you lie and you say you're fine. That's it's like if your life is like one straight line, like your life of authenticity is one straight line, each and every time you lie, you create kind of like a strand,
Mm.
like these different threads, you know?
Hmm.
Then your line has a bunch of threads, as where if you were just to be like, "Gosh, I'm like," you can say it in a way without complaining, just be like, "Gosh, I'm just a little tired today. You know, I'm all right." That is very humanizing. It's relatable. It lets people know you. You're being honest. Each time we lie, it's like we have to carry this baggage of inauthenticity. You know, if
Hmm.
you just tell the truth, you just that moment just fleeting onward, you know? So
Mm.
I try to guide people through where look at even with the little white lies of where you're not being totally honest, totally authentic. Say the things that you want, say the things that you don't want, and have the confidence to do that because it does take confidence if you haven't been living that authentic, you know, lifestyle.
Yeah, I saw that you have an episode of your podcast that's about that too, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Yep.
and so put that on your list, folks, to listen to because I think that's a goodie. And I feel like, when I'm doing a spirit portrait for somebody, especially for women, most of the time women are dwelling in their throats and in their hearts. That's where we spend a lot of our time. And those colors tend to connect to they tend to make like a tealy blue color, and that to me is all about the divine feminine. So it's
Mhm.
about honoring the feminine side, it's about speaking our truth, it's about loving and nurturing ourselves. And so a lot of times, even somebody I did a portrait for this morning, she was stuck in her throat. And I talked to her about your podcast. I mentioned the lying to her. And that's so powerful because it is, even if it's not intentional, right? It's still something that we should sort of inadvertently do all the time. And there's this quote that you just reminded me of. I'll have to look it up exactly, but it's like, what if every woman told the truth? The world would split open. It's like we go through our day, sort of shrinking ourselves and not speaking up with authenticity. What would happen if all of us just started telling the truth all the time? Um, it would cause, beautiful chaos.
Yes, it's a really almost emotional as you like really let that sink in.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful quote to bring forward, a concept really. And it makes you question where along the line did we think that we weren't, I don't know, I guess worthy of telling the truth from the beginning? Like our
Hmm.
truth is valuable
Yeah.
and needed and should be honored. And we need to come back to that. That's like the wholeness. You know, we
Yeah.
were born whole so we can be whole again.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think that's so true. I think we do spend a great deal of our lives doing things that we think will make other people happy, not necessarily what will make us happy. And that's where I found myself in the corporate space too. I was sitting there, why am I doing this? Who is this for? It doesn't feel like it's for me. And so I think when we have courage to step into work that is actually honoring our spirits and that puts us here to contribute. My spiritual teacher says, your gifts come in and they go out and serve us. Like if we're
Mhm.
not doing that kind of work, then what are we even really doing? You
Yeah.
know, what are we
Oh,
doing?
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
totally. I totally agree with that. And then when you're in alignment like that, when you're doing what, your higher purpose is, it's like your health just follows suit. Everything just falls into place. It's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So tell us what it's like to work
Mm.
with you and some of the I was looking on your site, some of the services that you offer. Tell us more about that.
So I work with people mostly one-on-one, um, and we'll meet for an hour, and then there are usually several like sesh people usually like do meet with me monthly after that. Um, it can be goal oriented. It can be anything from like, I'm feeling just out of whack. And I don't know what it is. I just don't feel like myself and I'm frustrated. To I just received a cancer diagnosis and have 2 months to live.
Mm.
What can I do? Like anything along, the spectrum. There's no like right or wrong way. There's no such thing in my world as too big or too small. It's very, I'll meet you exactly where you are. Um, I meet with people in person. I have a home office here in Maine, and I meet people virtually. Like I said, I do hospital visits. I'm just getting into working with children, which I love.
Oh, cool.
Yep, special needs, parenting, and relationships, couples is something on the horizon for me too. I'm passionate about.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So where can people find you to connect with you?
On my website, corbinchase.health, is the best way. I'm also pretty active on Instagram at Spiritual Health Expert, and I have the podcast. I'm highly interactive. I'm trying to build community.
Hmm.
I'm very interested in where spirituality meets health and the relationship there. So
Hmm.
anyone who's like spiritually curious, already, believes in the universal energies, but
Hmm.
wants to learn how to live that lifestyle to support that kind of spirituality, like the functional spirituality, um, or other people who are also psychics and want to check in with what's going on with them, because it's also important. Healers need
Yeah.
healers too.
That's right. I love that. I love that. And you've got so I'll put all this information in the show notes too, but you've got a wonderful podcast and you've also got a coupon code for folks who are listening. What can they apply that code towards?
Yes. So if you're listening to one of these podcasts, use code Spiritual Health Podcast 15 for any of my services. You can put that in on my website, or email it to me, or mention it to me over Instagram, and I'll make sure it's applied. You can also use it. I write holistic guides and trainings. They work there as well.
Awesome. And you've got classes and courses on your website too, right?
I do. I'm very close to launching a death and grief training about
Mm.
demystifying death and preparing for grief. So whether you've experienced a lot of death in your life, or haven't at all and kind of just avoid death as a topic, it's inevitable. So like let's make this area of your life have a strong foundation.
Mm.
Um, and very I think in about 2 weeks I have a compulsive lying training coming out, what I mentioned earlier.
Oh, wow.
That's a
Amazing. It's so
big.
interesting you mentioned the grief topic too. I'm working on a therapeutic art workshop that's all about using art and color for grief healing too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
how does that work?
interesting. So I think what we're going to do is really work with um different therapeutic art techniques to explore and like apply shape and color and form to the feelings that we're encountering and give
Mm,
ourselves permission to sort of explore that through art, meditation, journaling, and things like that. So trying to put that together now.
gosh, talk about functional spirituality. It's
I
amazing.
I love that term. When you said that before, I was like, oh, that is so important. Functional spirituality, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not all just sitting in lotus pose all day meditating. Like we have to apply apply
Yeah.
what we're, practice what we're preaching in our day-to-day lives and how it fits into having to wake up and run your kids to school and have a partner or spouse and engage with them daily and the ways that spirituality shows up because we're humans having a spiritual experience and it's all connected. It's all
Yes.
connected.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, yes.
I love that. So if you could leave us with like one technique or tool to try this week to kind of step into this idea of wholeness, what would
Mhm.
that be?
I would. I'm going to leave you with a concept challenge, with the goal hopefully being a perspective shift. So, our bodies are of the earth. We are in a borrowed body, and the mother of our body is Mother Earth. So, we are connected to the seasons, the planets, the elements. So, as you're going through your week or your day, look to see where you see a parallel or a commonality, or you can identify with something in nature within yourself.
Mhm.
Nature has a really amazing way of, um, it doesn't hold stress. It like alchemizes it really quickly. And we have that ability within us too, but because of our humanness, we tend to hoard stress. So the next time you feel stress, see where you can lean on in nature to be part of that bigger picture, part of that interconnectedness, and it'll make you feel less alone. You can offer that stress to the planet for it to kind of metabolize it for you. See where you can strengthen your relationship.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's so funny that you mentioned that too, because I feel like, especially this season of spring, I'm so much more aware of the growth of the trees. I've watched them like bloom and they develop these little flutter things, and then next thing you know, like the next day they've got blooms on them, and then the next day they've got leaves. And I just think how beautiful that nature just knows what to do and it just doesn't resist that.
Yeah.
And also because I'm so focused on time, you and I talked about this earlier before we got to record, like time is so important in my world. It's probably a great deal of stress for me. I noticed how quickly those things seem to just happen, without anyone needing to do anything about it.
Yeah. Oh my
Just a
God.
fun little observation I've been kind of paying attention to recently as I look out my window and see the trees out there.
Totally. It happens
Hmm.
with food too. Like I myself am finding myself like all winter long, I don't want anything to do with a salad. Like my body's like, I don't want it. I just want potatoes, and carrots. And
Totally.
all of a sudden, when spring started, I was like, gosh, I really want salads. We eat salad almost every day now. Just like it's coming from my body, that connectedness.
Oh, I love that.
It's amazing. Your body knows the medicine
Yeah.
it needs. It knows what's in season. So cool.
That is so cool. Yeah, our bodies are so wise and our spirits are so wise. And I love when they can come together and create some harmony. That's
Yeah.
really beautiful. I have loved chatting with you. I feel like I could chat with you for a couple more hours, but my dog, you've probably noticed he's been up here with me the whole time, like begging for pets and
Ready for a walk.
ready for a walk. Yeah.
Yeah. Heather,
He's
thank
like,
you
take
so
me
much.
outside.
Yeah. This has
Yeah.
been amazing. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for having me. This is
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for I'm so happy to meet you, and I'm curious to see what else there is for us, what's in store for us, because I
I
feel like there's
know.
more. There's more in store.
Yes, I believe it. I believe it. Stay tuned.
That's yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna Thank you again for joining me on this episode of Your Radiant Spirit. I loved that conversation and I hope you did too. If you heard us chatting about the workshop I'm putting together on healing grief through art, I wanted to share a quick update. You can now join me on the Gentle Path to Healing, a quiet space for healing grief through art. This is a 5-day creative retreat that offers you a safe, soft space to process grief through color, intuitive art, and daily reflection. There's no art experience needed, just a willing heart and a desire to feel. You'll get a workbook from me that has 5 days of gentle healing art prompts, daily videos with guided reflections, a beautiful downloadable workbook, and space to express, release, and feel held. So if this feels like something that you're being called to, let this be your pause, let this be your breath, and let this be your sacred return. You can find that at heathereck.com.
Thank you for joining us on Your Radiant Spirit. If today's episode lit up your creativity or helped you connect with your inner energy, please leave us a review and share your thoughts. Your feedback helps us spread more light to others. To dive deeper, visit www.heathereck.com for courses, workshops, and custom spirit portraits. And for daily inspiration and behind-the-scenes magic, follow Heather on Instagram at @HeatherEckArtist. Your Radiant Spirit is calling. Take the next step on your journey. See you next time.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.